All right, we are live. We are live. We are live. We are live. This is Soapbox Heroes. My name is Tyrone Irvin. Today we have a very, 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 very important topic for you that you need to listen to, something that you need to take heed of, and something that we need to participate in, okay? So today we're going to be talking about the inequality in local school districts. And we have a very, very smart, distinguished, well-spoken, driven panel of people here to talk tonight. So if you guys can, make sure that you guys share with a couple people, let a couple people know what we're doing. This is something that we want to spread the word of. This is something that we want to get the community to be active in. We're trying to activate some minds here. And so I'm going to go around and let everybody introduce themselves, and then we're going to go ahead and get into it. Christina, you're the biggest on my screen. You want to take a second and introduce yourself, let everybody know who you are?
I am Christina Laster, the NAACP Education Chairwoman for Southwest Riverside County. Also, I am the Inland Empire Parent Union President for the California Policy Center.
Okay, that's a nice dossier of work. You're very well versed in what we're about to talk about, so they can't say, well, she don't know nothing. Johnny.
Yeah, I heard that. Thank you.
Johnny, you want to take a second, introduce yourself?
Yes, my name is Johnny Karina III. I am a RUSD parent, a active member of the RUSD APAC, and also an executive board member at large for the Riverside NAACP chapter.
Okay, and it's good to have a parent, somebody that's right there in the mix of things. Okay, Johnny. All right, Jerry, you want to take a second and introduce yourself? Let everybody know who you are.
Sure, Jerry Green, Black Student Advocate, and we represent both Black employees and Black students for any kind of issues dealing with school districts on the level of equality, fairness, and controlling and making sure the environment is conducive for our babies' learning environment.
Mm-hmm. And I saw a clip of you on YouTube, and you were talking to, I think, who was it, the district?
Yes, in front of the board, Riverside USD board members.
Okay, and I'll put that in the comments too as well, so people could go see and get another taste of what you're talking about, just in your rawest form, because you know.
Gotta love Jerry. He does it, man.
Yeah. I was impressed. It's sometimes you gotta have somebody who could speak a language that other people can understand. In the way that you were talking to him, you broke it down and said, okay. And so before we started, Christina said, ladies first. Yes, ladies first. Can you take a second and kind of lay out what we're going to be talking about today, just so people know what we're talking about, and we could go ahead and get into it?
You know, I want to address the way that these school districts, not just even Riverside, but locally, statewide, and nationally, period, only offer a system of gradualism and token integration, if that's the best way we want to put it, for our students. So, you know, it's like everything else happens right away, but when it comes to our kids, we got to hurry up and wait, you know? So okay. Anything that we need as far as education-wise, support services, even if it's cultural awareness, something as simple as celebrating their culture, we have to wait and let's try it next year, you know? And so that to me is just a reflection of their poor investment into our children.
Okay, why are we having to wait? Why are things getting pushed off? What's going on with that?
Because the framework is not supportive of our students. So wherever you are at, education-wise, the framework historically has not been supportive of integrating our students in an appropriate way. So when we look at it, it's under a system of token integration. So even though we have a large amount of students, in schools, in district-run schools, mm-hmm. basically only a small percentage of those are really able to be accepted and receive a quality education. The rest of them just typically either go under the radar, are victims of exclusionary harsh punishment, are just ignored and not even educated, can't even read or write. Here's the thing: 7 out of 8 African American school students, go to public district-run schools. Okay.
Okay.
Out of that number, 80% of those students are not even at grade level for math. 68% of those students are not at grade level for reading and writing.
Wow.
Students.
Wow.
So you tell me if that is a system of gradualism and token integration. So that means the 20% that are the token, okay? And then the other 32%, you think about it. I am actually one of the people that is one of the people that gained from token integration. This is how come I can speak of this so passionately. So as a child, I was able to get on a bus and go outside of my community to receive a higher quality education, if that's what you want to call it, in a predominantly white community where it was a wealthy community, La Jolla, California. And I was the only Black student in all of my classes from elementary school all the way up to high school. And then high school, you know, there was more integration, but then back again, when I got into the university, again, I was the only Black student in a private university that a lot of people wanted to get into, but weren't allowed to because it wasn't diverse. So now as an adult, I think of what happened to all the kids that didn't get on the bus.
Okay. They didn't have the same opportunities.
They don't have the same access and opportunities. They didn't have the same access and opportunities that I had.
Okay. Jerry, what do you have something that you want to add? And I want to ask you, what are some of the roadblocks to proceeding forward? And do you want to add anything to what Christina said?
Correct. So when you look at RUSD, 46% of their Black students graduate college and career ready. Okay. Just like she said, that our kids are going into these districts, but they're not supported in a healthy, safe environment. So we really got called on the scene in RUSD was when on October 12th, a young Black female was referred to as cotton picking. So call on the 14th of October. I meet with the parent on the 15th. We go to the school district. The principal was off site, so we met with the assistant principal. But what happened is that the coach got fired on the 16th. The next day, the assistant coach got fired, but he still was a teacher. So now these kids, and when he said this in front of the whole cross-country track team. So now you have a white male using privilege and a recruiting tool to refer to a Black female, and her brother was on the team also, as cotton picking. And even when 3 to 5 white girls said, "Coach, you can't say that," he still didn't apologize. Something else that we usually see is when parents are involved, we usually see kids get treated better. Well, this father was an Olympian from Zimbabwe. So his kids have excellent genes, are setting records and things like that. And he had been with the track team 2 years. And the coach referred to his baby like that and still didn't apologize to the father later when he saw him.
So what would be the remedy? How was he able to still be a teacher after being a coach and calling somebody cotton picking? Because he's still going to go through some of the same students, correct?
Correct. So what happens is that the teachers union is one of the strongest unions across the country. And that's why you have so many issues dealing with charter schools and things like that and dealing with politics because of how strong the union is and how they put their money behind candidates. And the candidates now need to jump in line with what the union and everyone who's their funders say. So we dealt with that. And I put a video out on the 19th of October last year.
Okay.
20th and 21st, the board and other members around the community said, "Who's this guy, Jerry Green?" And they said, "Oh, he's a Black student advocate." The number 2 question was, "Who can we call?" Because they're so used to having handlers in the community to squash people or to squinch individuals who want to hold them accountable. And because I don't have a handler and because I'm independent and I'm a media company who do advocacy, which is totally different than what they used to Black organizations when they come to these white institutions, school districts, and municipalities, that Black organizations come in are looking for money and looking for a check. So then their voice is squished. So I don't need your money.
Right.
You know, so you can't shut me up. You're going to have to deal with this issue of racism within our USD.
Right. And
you know what I find ironic, that the teacher called the child cotton picking, when our kids is the new cotton that they picking, because they'll take all their money that they bring in every day and won't educate them.
Yeah.
Wow.
So our kids is the new cotton. So who picking it?
Wow. Johnny, you want to add something?
Well, I can bring the perspective in of a parent in the district.
Okay. What do you see as a parent?
Well, as a parent, at first, the first few years, well, my oldest daughter, she has a IEP, individual educational plan, to where the team comes together and they make certain adjustments to make sure that, you know, she can get the proper support she needs. And I'm currently in a due process with them right now because they were out of compliance in a lot of the things they were doing. You know, a lot of negligence from them. And as far as responses, the first thing that really got me involved in seeing what's going on, I went to the well, no, this was after. I went to the LCAP meeting next. First, my daughter.
What's LCAP?
That's the local community accountability plan. That's the money that the government issues each school district, and they're supposed to divvy it down in an equal way. And the equity part is to make it an equal playing field for all of the kids. You know, your Black kids, special needs kids, everything like that. All the kids that are at a disadvantage, we need to figure out a way to get them going. But a lot of this stuff, a lot of parents wouldn't even know. I wouldn't have found all this stuff out if I had not got more involved with my daughter's IEP. Because at first I used to let my wife handle it all the time, and I used to, you know, okay. But I noticed there was no progression, and a lot of the goals look the same. A lot of stuff looked the same. And so after talking to people, they were telling me what they can't do, what they should be doing, everything like that. And that's where the community comes in. Everybody, it's because ignorance is an excuse, you know. So I was just, I knew better, but I didn't know anything that was going on. So not only do you have to educate yourself, but you have to go to these meetings, these school meetings. You have to figure out what they know, figure out what they're doing. I used to go to all the IEP meetings, some of the APAC, or all the APAC meetings. And the thing is, not everybody is genuine. You know, they're going to help you, but they're not genuine. A lot of parents are intimidated by them because they think that they have to adhere to everything they're saying when it's actually opposite. The school is a public entity. So whatever concerns you may have or what you want to do, you need to voice that. And so when my daughter was referred to as, well, they talked about her afro, you know, the kids were teasing her, and there hasn't been any restorative practice, really. And she still doesn't like to wear an afro now. Actually going through, I'm taking the proper steps and everything, reaching out to a lot of the resources just so that we can rectify that. Tim Walker, he's the assistant superintendent of pulpit services and suspension. I spoke with him on March 3rd, and I have not heard back from him for anything. And that is the marginalization that I'm talking about. If you you come in there and you're trying to make a change, you want to see things happen. It's kind of like the approach you give a kid some food and put them in front of the TV and hope they forget about it, you know?
Okay.
So Yeah, that's my outlook on it until I see a change. I actually had a meeting with the equity director on Monday about these things, and Jacqueline
Who's the
Perez
equity director?
has
Oh, okay,
not
thank
reached
you.
back out to me.
She hasn't reached out to you?
Yeah, you already know. I'm dropping names. Period. So,
Okay. Look, as a parent, what would you recommend for parents to do to become more active or to get over that intimidation factor?
I would say that they need to do their research. Really, honestly, that's the only way it works. Go look at the Department of Education website, Ed Codes. Pretty much, you can Google everything right now. If you have a question about something, and there's resources, reach out to me. I'll direct you to the resources. My on Instagram and Facebook, it's Karina Mack Events and Marketing, and I have my email. It's CORINAMACINC @gmail. There's a lot of things that we need to do. We need to learn the ed codes. We need to learn the rules, the processes, and then we can better equip ourselves with the armor and tools to defend our kids better.
Okay. Let me ask you guys this, and let's really just talk about it. What's going on with the politics? How do we get around the politics? Who's causing the politics? What's stopping our kids from being able to progress? Why are they not accepting our kids in the charter schools? The inequality. What's going on?
Let me piggyback on some couple things Johnny said before we move forward.
Okay.
So the LCAP is local control and accountability plan.
Okay.
That's where they reach out supposedly to have different stakeholders put together how they want to see this money spent. Okay. But what happens is when you continue to have the same students failing, where's really the accountability in it? It's not as if they're going to stop giving the money. It's not, so it's the same game. And like Christina said, it's always wait for Black students. Okay.
Okay.
Now let's understand this right here. And no disrespect to Dr. Hansen and the tragedy he had dealing with his child's death through mental illness. But within 4 months, now you got mental illness awareness going throughout our USD. We've been having kids been called the N-word, slave, and all these other things for years, and it hasn't been a priority. So you can't tell me you can't roll a program out fast if you have an interest in it. So we need to look at that and talk about that. We need to also look at how many white employees have been appointed to positions over the last 3 to 5 years up under Dr. Hansen's leadership, which is anywhere from minimum 7 people, and how many Black employees have left the district over the last 3 to 5 years. It is over 7 employees, either been fired, either been demoted or left because of the environment. So even our Black employees who stand up and say, hey, this is not right, now they're on the hit list and they're targeted. Because the yellow line of education is just as strong or stronger than the blue line of law enforcement.
Really?
If you crossed over it, your career is done. And what we have is by the time you become an administrator, you might have 15 to 21 years in the school district at this point. You might, if you're a doctor, you might have $175,000 to $300,000 in student loans. Based on your age, you might have a kid who's either getting ready to go to college or who might be in college with student loans. Then you have your mortgage. Then you have your car payments. You have all these life issues and bills where you can't speak independent because you know that's your livelihood. And that's what these districts have been dependent on and been working our Black staff around, knowing that they need these jobs because every district is pretty much ran the same. A different district name and different leadership, but the issues are the same across the United States. It's no different. Okay. And so what you have is people with their hands tied. So when you have an independent organization, and I'm going back to your question, we have independent organizations who don't have to depend on money from corporate companies or unions, then you can speak freely. And that's the position that the Black Student Advocate is in. And that's why they have to make changes, because I'm not out begging for a check.
Right.
And they're not used to that.
Right.
And so now you see what I do is my videos are on YouTube and post on Facebook also. So my whole thing is exposing these districts, excuse me, because the issues are the same. I get calls from all over the country. Jerry, this is going on. And then I advise parents. And back to what Johnny says, I train parents, excuse me, on how to educate themselves on the ed codes. So you don't have to go with school district parents upset. You just ask them to reference the ed code. And now they're going to deal with you totally different because you're talking law. Because that's all the school system is laws. But we think it's about educating our babies, and it's not. Because no other business can be ran where 70 to 83% of the budget is for pensions and salaries.
Wow. So the money's never getting funneled down to the children the way it's supposed to be funneled down.
Well, it is when you start talking about classroom time and teachers.
Okay.
Well, let me
Go ahead.
Let me chime in here, okay?
Go ahead. Okay.
I have the current fiscal reports. I'm the data diver PRA chick, and so PRA Public Records Act. And so I have the current fiscal reports from some districts. And what I need everybody to really understand as parents is that where they think that the public education system is free, it is not. We get the local control funding formula based on our local taxes that we pay. Okay, that's why, sometimes when you try to get these out of district transfers, it's a little bit difficult because guess what? The district doesn't really gain either way because it's the local taxes that pay for that district school. So this is our money and these are our kids. On average, around across the state of California, every student receives with the supplemental tax grants that we pay, taxes, and the federal, state and federal, $12,000 per year, okay, on average, okay. They don't go off of predicted attendance. They actually go off of actual attendance where the child has to be at school each day. That's why attendance is so important because they don't get the dollars unless they have a kid in the seat.
Is that why they give the kids the perfect attendance award?
Oh yeah, because they need them dollars. Okay, so basically, I checked some fiscal reports for last year. 95% of the funding went to personnel.
Wow. So 95%?
He gave a number that make people feel happy. Now, 95%.
Wow.
Okay, and here's how I want to frame that. 95% of our tax dollars went to personnel. 5% had to be broken up into everything else. A part of that 95%, a lot of that is retirement payment heavy, and all of we're going to
right.
Yeah.
Okay.
So they're in a hole anyway for past employee retirements, and so using our current taxes and things like that to keep it recycling to pay off the retirement benefits for the past employees. And so if we then come and say, we need special services and supports for our African American students, and we need to carve out funding through like what Johnny's saying, APAC, guess what? No, you guys don't get that because we're not going to pull that out of the 5% that's left. We're not willing to do that because, but what it is, and I might sound a little bit militant about this, is that we as parents, we as community leaders and stakeholders, civil rights activists need to understand we're not asking for no favors. For one, this is our children, it's our tax dollars, and these are not favors. So when people start coming from the perspective of stating the facts and knowing the amount, and then saying this is not favors, what you're doing is taking our money and misappropriating it, then it looks a lot different, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Let's talk about this also. Is school districts tell parents they want them to get involved, but they really don't.
No.
When a parent gets involved, and once I train a parent, now the parent's empowered and the district loses power. See, the whole game of a district.
They want them to be in PTA because that raises funds.
Correct. And so they want to posture and they want to act as if they're in charge because parents don't know their power. So back in 1964, LBJ, he came out with two programs. One was called Follow Through. The other one was called Head Start.
Okay.
Right.
Said is that Title I parents should be involved in their kids' education. And so now you see, and then in 1994, President Clinton signed a bill to say 1% of Title I funds have to be used for parent engagement, parent involvement. That's why you see all these groups now are popping up and these districts are saying, hey, we want the parents to be involved. And some of these organizations only been around the districts 2 or 3 years. So the question is, what have these districts been doing with that money all these years? And the game they want to run. When you start asking questions about money, it's a whole different conversation because they know now you see and you pulling the veil up and exposing them for what they're doing.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
To me, what I see school districts as is one of the largest criminal organizations we have going on in this country because they are taking our money for our babies and then they're creating fiduciary negligence for not educating our kids.
Right.
We also say that I encourage any parent, once I advocate for them, you have to get involved in your child's education. And in California, up under labor code, if you have 25 or more employees at one site, then you get up to 40 hours to go and deal with your child's school. So you plan days in which you want to attend school functions.
Wow. Okay. And so that's why so when they saying that they want the kids, the parents to be a part, they really don't, but they want the PTA because the PTA is, you get money through the PTA.
Okay. The schools, the district run schools, because I'm not going to put all schools in this category. Okay. We're going to talk about the traditional public school systems. Okay. You might as well consider that another branch of government. Okay. And so what it is that they believe they control the monopoly over our kids, which they're showing that they pretty much do. So why would they want certain parents? Okay. This has happened to me where I did all the protocols and procedures to get my volunteer badge, be involved. They don't want me on the campus though, because I'm looking like, wait, why are there trip hazards on the ground where the kids can fall at? Why is the milk rotten that you serving the kids? You know, they don't want the parents that are going to hold them accountable. So what you find is that they monopolize on the parents that they choose to have and the community stakeholders. And I actually had to Public Records Act, Information Act, a district about the same community stakeholders that they had taking their surveys, the same community stakeholders that they had on their LCAP stakeholder committee, because they use the people that are going to give them favorable reviews and do what they want them to do. And it looks like we're doing a good job, but no, You're not, because you're monopolizing on the ones you want. You're choosing even the community stakeholders they want to choose. I've been to award ceremonies where they have certain community stakeholders, like the water company, like you name it, the people that are giving them a kickback. And I don't see no Black students getting awards. And all of the students are getting a bag of goods, and the district is getting a kickback. And these are the community stakeholders they're monopolizing on. Well, where are the other ones? There's no equity in that. Those are
Let me give you something else also. So through Paris Elementary School District, I actually have a letter in which they were having a closed meeting that came out from the district office about an LCAP meeting.
Yeah.
How can you have a private meeting dealing with public funds?
Wow.
That's wrong. Yeah. And then also
they running it like the mafia.
Again, then also through RCOE and the SOPA, which is with kids who have special needs, their parents go to this community action committee meeting, but to be a member, the district have to approve you.
Yes.
How is it a community meeting or organization when the district only going to approve people they like? One lady at the last meeting, she was disapproved 14 times to be a member.
Wow.
It does not surprise me.
Do they publicize their standards on picking a member? What are the criteria?
Well, they'll say something like district appointed or district approved. No.
What? That's too vague.
But that's how they do it. And usually come in, and when people don't like it, they might go to a meeting and move on, because they're only there many times because they found out about it because of their baby. Versus you have organizations that's coming in and saying, hold up, this is out of line. I'm not going to stand for this. And that's what me and some of my collaborating partners are doing now, is just going to meetings, kicking in the front door and saying, this is a facade.
But right. You know, Jerry, I don't think me and you are going to get invited to any of those. But, you know, here's what you're on to something, and here's how I want to empower the parents. While they're monopolizing on certain stakeholders, I'm telling parents, then you go to meetings like with the Chamber of Commerce, with the historical societies, because those are their community partners. All of those places that are their preferred partners, you start going into those meetings and take someone with you. Don't go by yourself, 2 by 2, 3 by 3, so that people can understand that we are serious about
that people care.
Right.
With representation.
Right. So let's think outside of the box of just going to a board meeting. Let's think outside of the box and appear in places where they're having luncheons. You know, let's go, you know, and hey, how you doing?
Right.
You know, and we love the kids. You know, what do you have going on within the community?
Right.
And that is what we have to do. We have to start branching out into the areas where they try to monopolize on and make our appearances.
And make our presence felt. What about parents that want to be involved, but they don't know where to go find the meetings and stuff like that? Because I do know some of these meetings they'll put out on a hush. They don't really make it to where, because now I'm thinking about it, Jerry, you're right. They really don't want the parents involved in certain things. So where do a parent go who might be concerned about these things to find out where to go?
Well, you know, again, the district websites, the site, talking to the site administrator. But again, going in, they should just go in and watch the process.
Okay.
And they can be armed. Because if you go in and now you're talking emotional, now they're going to label you the crazy parent. But if you go in talking from their lingo and ed code and policy and procedures and look at their student handbook and looking at district handbooks and say, show me where that is. One of the most powerful things a parent can say is, Show me where that is in ed code.
Right.
Where that is in your student manual, your district manual.
And all they gotta do too is show up at one meeting, and they'll find out about a whole bunch of other stuff. You know, really, like when you go to one thing, you will literally find out about a whole bunch of stuff you never heard of, nobody told you about. You're like, wow. And then you meet people that also have other information. So it's all about networking. But I want to go back to what Jerry was talking, visiting the board meetings. What I need parents to also be really aware of, and because me and another group of parents caught this, not just visiting the board meetings, but checking the notes after the meeting. Because we were checking the notes after the board meeting, and guess what? They were not reflecting right.
So they weren't transcribing the notes correctly. So when somebody go and look at it later, it doesn't reflect what really went on in the meeting.
No.
Wow. How are they getting away with all this stuff?
Because no one ever, I mean, how many people were trolling the internet to read board notes?
I haven't. I'll be completely honest with you. That sounds like something that people need to know. And then too, Jerry, I keep hearing you reiterate about the ed codes, just knowing the codes and stuff like that. So that's something that you would empower people to do, is learn the ed codes.
Oh, correct. Because what happens is prime example. I had a parent call me, say, Jerry, they're suspending my son. She called me Friday, and we've been dealing with her son with this case. And her son now, because of being harassed and bullied by his teacher, at the 6-year-old have now been diagnosed with PTSD.
Wow.
Because traumatic situations.
Yeah.
Wow. So she pulls up, and they're pulling her son. 2 different administrators are tugging her son like they could pull him in half on each arm. And one of them said, oh, there goes his mom. And they said, oh, put him in the restraint. So now they want to look like he was doing something wrong, and they pencil whip it, and they Suspend him. A 6-year-old now.
A 6-year-old?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Why you have to restrain a 6-year-old? What can a 6-year-old do far as hurting something?
I mean, but understand, that's the game. And that's why you have to be involved, because administrators, and I've seen from the classroom aide all the way up to the superintendent lie. So,
yeah. Oh, yeah.
Right.
That's the, and again, Daryl Green right now is stating that superintendents and everyone below them will lie. It doesn't matter how much that teacher or that office staff say, I like little Jerry, he's a great student. Soon as the administration come to them and say, we got a problem with Jerry's mom, they're going to change the story and say, Jerry was good on most days. On Friday, he really cut up.
Yeah.
Okay.
They're going to assassinate that student's character.
Right.
And when they do that, now they build a case term for the preschool to prison pipeline. And that's what happens with our Black boys, is they get labeled aggressive. And really what I'm dealing with now in Southern California, in LA, Riverside, and San Bernardino County, when Black males are assaulted, then their cases are minimized, reduced, ignored, and never dealt with. But when the Black boys retaliate or Black students are accused, the administration is quick to judgment and discipline.
Right away.
Chris, speak to that.
So let me talk about this phenomenon real quick with you, with the exclusionary harsh punishments to our Black boys, like how they were suspending them phenomenal rates. So what we did see over the past year was a slight drop in the suspension rates of African-American males, but what we saw was a doubling in the expulsion rates of African-American.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Okay, what I said was we saw a slight reduction in the suspension rates of the African-American males, but then what we saw was a doubling of expulsions of African American females. Okay.
Wow.
Okay, so let's speak to that. So when you look at discipline, it goes black male, black female, then every other race of boys. Think about that. They're expelling and disciplining black girls higher than any other rate of boys.
Wow.
So these are things that our babies are going up against every day when they go to school. And if you have a 5 or 6 year old child that go to school and they say, hey, my teacher don't like me, what that baby is saying is they're not treating me as fair as other kids in the classroom. Where little Jerry, I only get one chance, or they still discipline me on what I done yesterday, but little Becky, she gets 3 or 4 chances, or little Richard gets 3 or 4 chances, but I get one mistake, and then they continue to pile on the discipline that happened from yesterday, and they just continue to build the tape against me.
So Jerry had actually did a video about something that happened to my son in Lake Elsinore Unified School District just recently. And this is the level of madness that we're dealing with when it comes to what is considered exclusionary, harsh, excessive, punitive punishment that happens to our small children. Okay, my son's in 2nd grade, and he was playing handball at recess, and the whistle was blown, and he bounced the ball against the handball court for what was a matter of maybe not even a minute, seconds. They threatened him that he cannot play recess for 3 weeks.
What? You guys are telling me some things that just make me sit back, because some of this stuff is astounding. 7
years old. If you're a little boy and you're playing,
yeah,
it might take your brain the time to respond, whatever. Okay, and so he played for seconds after the whistle blew, and they got threatened that his recess was going to get taken away for 3 weeks. So I had to remind them that he had a note from the previous year of getting excessive harsh punishment that they couldn't use recess as a form of taking away his recess as a form of punishment. He had a doctor's note.
Okay.
And so then they were like, okay, well, we're not going to take away his recess, but he's restricted from that activity for 2 weeks. Well, wait a minute now.
It's the same thing. It's the same thing. And why are they trying to break him down? Like, they know what that's going to do to a child.
And so I wrote them and so I said, first of all, you're not respecting collaboration. And to go back to respect the collaboration and the ed code, I would advise all parents to start with ed code 51100 and read the 5 series, because that's all about their parent engagement on campus, respected collaboration, and what that looks like. So again, that's ed code 51100 series. Okay, so we're gonna do that. Anyway, so I said, the parent, wrote you guys a letter saying that the activity was not commensurate with the punishment, and that he is 7, it was not even commensurate with his age. There was no restorative practices in that, no positive behavior supports in place. And I don't even know how can you prompt somebody that just did something for a few seconds, right? They were gonna stick to it, and the principal gonna tell me, well, I have permission from my administrator to go ahead and keep him on punishment. Oh, really? So I had to get a lawyer to write a letter, do a video with Jerry, and then write him a notice to cease and desist exclusionary harsh punishments against my child. And a week and a half later, they took him off.
Wow, because you knew the proper actions to take. You knew the proper remedies to take.
The
damage is done. It's done.
Because because they were like, oh, well, he wasn't supposed to get threatened about his recess, and the recess aide was highly apologetic. Apologetic. Let me tell you what Malcolm X said about apologies. So if Malcolm X said, if you come up to me and you put your arm around me, we can have some brotherhood. But if I gotta force you to like me, then that's hypocrisy, and we not doing that. So I'm sitting here like, wait a minute, I have to get an apology out of him just because I wrote a letter saying to cease and desist all exclusionary harsh punishment.
You didn't mean it.
And then the principal want to cry talking about she care about and like my son. Well, it ain't trickled down to him.
And again, the problem is the damage is already done.
The damage is already done. So now you guys mean to tell me that you have to heavily, and I have to heavily incentivize my 7-year-old son who's in 2nd grade, my little black son, Daniel, who is a king, okay, and he know it, to go to school because he know he got to face all you hypocrites who tell his mom, we like Daniel, and then when he get behind the gate, y'all about to dog him out.
Right.
And he even told me during the time that he was on the punishment, Mommy, I tried to give him my scholar dollars and they wouldn't let me play handball.
Oh, wow.
Oh, you know what? He didn't even go to school for 2 days after that because I was like, y'all not getting no funding. I'm not calling him in absent. I don't even listen.
Hit him where it hurt.
I was so heated. And so I looked at them all in the face and I said, you guys know that I advocate for all the kids in this region, and you have the audacity. So I walked into the office and I didn't get mad. I told them I'm not going to yell. I'm not going to get mad. But here's what I will do. If you do not release my son from this restrictive recess activity, I will personally, I'm not talking about where you got union protection. I'm talking about civil court. I will see each and every one of you in civil court, and everybody that fails to intervene on behalf of my son will be sued. Your livelihood for his. How about that?
Wow. Yeah. Hit him where it hurt. Hit him where it hurt. And Jerry, how important is this? For parents to listen to their kids when their kids come home and say, well, these things are happening. Because I can even tell you, when I was a kid, I'll never forget, I got suspended from school because I like to play sports. And so I walked in the classroom and I was like your son. I came in like right after the rest of the class, and I shot the basketball into the little bucket. It knocked over the bucket and knocked over all the balls, but the teacher said I got mad and threw the ball. I didn't get mad. I wasn't even mad. I didn't have nothing to be mad at. I was playing. And so, but these things happen where these kids come home, and a lot of the times the parents be like, oh no, I don't want to hear it. So what is the importance of parents listening and following through with what their kids say?
See, that's the key, because what Chris was talking about, and these school districts spend millions on PBIS, which is positive behavior intervention and services, which means is if her son bounced the ball an extra time or 10 times, they say, student Daniel, right, Chris?
Yes, my son
Daniel. When we say get in line, don't bounce the ball anymore. That's corrective action. Okay? They would have said in today's time, Tyrone, when we say no more shooting, don't shoot the ball, come in and place it down or give it to the teacher. What happens is when it's our kids, they throw PBS out the window many times.
Oh, yeah.
They just go to strict discipline.
Straight discipline. Straight discipline. And
so it's very important for parents to understand that their kids' experience in school is reality.
Yes.
They have, when a kid comes home and says something happens, parent, you got to go in and let that kid know that you're their advocate and you giving them a safe haven. That's very important, because what happens then is then kids start saying, I don't want to go to school. I'm sick and all these things, because the kid now knows the environment is not conducive and is not safe for them. And now it's just a crowd for the parent to say, Mommy, Daddy, guardian, help me. They're abusing me, and they're not treating me fair like I should be treated, and I can't learn in this situation.
Right. Right. And what I do remember too is it would seem the harder my parents fought, the more trouble I would get in. And whether I was doing it or not, it just seemed like things would just ramp up and get worse and worse.
But see, that's the retaliation. So when I have clients, I'll say, okay, because when we go in, I'm requesting all of little Jerry's paperwork.
Right.
It's cube folder, signing out, discipline report, attendance, because as of the day that the parent came in or we came in and we see a difference, that's retaliation. We're not standing for it.
It goes directly to, and I speak as, I worked for 13 years in public education in San Diego. I was in early childhood education for 6 years, and I worked in special education for 7 years. And here's where we talk about cultural awareness, relevance, and the thing about it is, you know, we as a people are very passionate people. When we speak, you know, we have certain ways and things about us, and there's already a bias and a stereotype that creates a level of expectation, like, oh, they're going to do this, or they're going to do that, or they're not going to do this, or they're not going to do that. And that's what really happens. So when the parents try to stand up and advocate for their children, you know, a lot of times the way that they're perceived is not one of care and concern, you know, and it's like, wait a minute, because you don't understand us as a culture and as a people, what that looks like might not look like the other parent, but this is how we're showing our care and concern. It's not that it's adversarial. It's not that
they always make us look crazy.
But see, you understand.
Make me look like the angry black woman all the time, but I really don't care. I don't manage other people's opinions.
But understand, we're just an animated people.
Right.
You see two people talking and raising their voices. We're just animated.
Exactly.
We're not mad. We're just animated.
Well, I ain't mad yet. How about
we could be having the best time ever. We could be having the best time ever. I have literally went through this within the last week to where me and another brother conversated. We having a wonderful conversation, and the other guy said, "Well, you guys are being too loud, and are you mad?" And we looked at him like, "What's wrong with you?" But that does happen. But that happens with the kids too.
Right, and so, that's why they act standoffish to the parents. Yep. And then when the parents walk away, they laugh at them. I've heard it from being on the employee side to being in the office, and then I'm like, you know, that's really sad because everybody, you need to meet people at their level. You know, whatever their skills, tools, and abilities are, you need to accept that. Like, that's not okay. So that's where the cultural relevance come in at. And then on the flip side, the African American employees that are working in the school systems are overused, because guess what? All the behavior problems come to them. All the things that, you know, they say, okay, you know what? I have a teacher right now. I ain't gonna say what district she's at. You know, I'm just gonna put it like this. Some people, they be in the house so long, they suffer from vitamin D deficiency, but when they're ready to come out, they're gonna come out. So anyway,
for real.
I'm sorry, y'all. You guys got Christina in full effect. She just started working at this district, and they send the kids to her. She's supposed to be teaching one subject, but she don't even have time to teach the subject because all the African American behavior problems come to her all day, even during her lunch.
But see, what happens is that's what happens many times, that Black employees get pigeonholed. Mm-hmm. So they get pigeonholed to be the gatekeeper or the silencer for the Black parents, or the go-between for the student. Like, oh, go see Mr. Green, he'll take care of that. Send all the problem kids to the Black employee who now is doing all the behavior problems, or might get all these same students that might have challenges, which are fair to the student. And so I break it down like this. Equality is when every kid gets a pair of shoes. Equity is when every kid gets a pair of shoes that fit.
Right.
And that's what the district's responsibility is to meet the parent and the student where they are to educate that kid. But districts and school system was set up like an assembly line for a factory that all kids get the same thing. So understand this right here. When a kid is getting labeled ADD, ADHD, and all these other labels, that's more money for the district.
Oh yeah.
An asset.
Why?
So when a kid
Federal,
is getting
federal
more
funding.
resources, more
Right.
teachers, more planning. That's
But they're not applying it to
okay, so but understand, right? So what's happening is the school district, then the kid is an asset because
real.
they went from getting $12,000 a year, they might be getting $25,000 to $40,000 a year for that kid. But when it's time to deliver the services, the kid's a liability.
a liability.
So the kid's a liability, but they want the extra money for the kid. Is that why we see so many Black kids being put in these special classes or given these diagnoses? Does a lot of it have to do with the money?
Well,
yeah.
I can't speak to that. I can't speak to that. What I can say is this right here, though.
Yeah.
Chris, you want to speak to it? Go ahead.
So because I worked in the special education environment for 7 years, and I worked at an all special education school, what I can say is that there was a lot of emotional and developmental things that could have happened from traumatic experience, a lack of understanding the students' backgrounds, living in impoverished areas or whatever, things that other people didn't have to experience, and then they got labeled as special needs. You understand what I'm saying? Because they weren't understood in the typical educational environment and framework. So if you hungry and you coming into class and your stomach is growling, and you got to go back home and wonder how you gonna eat again, or your mom might be on drugs or whatever the case may be, and then you carrying all that weight on your shoulder, and you come into school, you might be sitting there picking your hair out or chewing your nails or being the behavior problem because you want attention or whatever, and that just is an issue that might just be a psychological issue or a trauma-based issue or a poverty issue, but it doesn't mean you have a learning disability.
Right.
And let me say this right here also. So now, with that, teachers and administrators should not be saying, go get your child checked for ADD or ADHD.
Yeah, no, that does not, no.
That's not their job.
And this is,
always say that.
Here's another thing that I wanted to finish up on the special education issue. The district public schools operate under uniformity, a system that does not support different modalities of learning. So if you have kids that are hands-on, which we want our kids to be engineers and things like that. We want our kids to be mechanically inclined. We want our children to be scientists and experiment. We got, my son, look, he likes to experiment, but the school doesn't support that kind of modality of learning because they want him to sit down like a little girl all day and color in a coloring book, like, okay, and if he don't, then guess where he's going to end up? In the corner in the principal's office. It doesn't support that modality of learning. So then you got the teachers union saying, oh, charter schools are bad, but yet the charter schools are supporting the various modalities of learning. They are, and rapid rates. So, and in particular with our kids. So,
the charter schools are better?
There's a lot of them that are showing major leaps and bounds with African American students. Let's just say that. And so it's a stigma and a misinformation when people think that school choice is not for African American children. I would beg to differ and say that school choice is a Black choice, because our students more so need to be in an environment or in a supportive environment where they are able to thrive with their learning type.
Okay.
So if they need to be at a school that they can be in STEAM, let them go. If they need to be in a school where they can do a hybrid program, I homeschooled after I came out of being a public school educator because I couldn't find a school that was adequate enough, and it took 1 week for my now adult daughter to go over here to Lakeland. Well, I ain't there now, but to Lakeland Middle School in Lake Elsinore Unified School District that still operates under a system of racism. And so,
I want you to detail that too, so somebody will know how. So somebody can identify it. You got to identify it. So let them know what it looked like.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
Jerry has videos on that, and I can literally say that Lake Elsinore Unified School District, actually, to me, with their reign of terror on the kids, seem like the KKK, but I ain't got no proof, so you ain't heard it from me. But I'm just gonna let you. I only have personal experiences, okay? I will say I do have proof that in 2005, Riverside County as a whole, and I can link it to this interview, had a county-wide shakedown for racism. County-wide shakedown for racism. You can look it up in the Southern Law Poverty Center. The county-wide task force had to be done in Riverside. And if you read the article, I wonder what has changed today. And listed in that article was Lake Elsinore. Okay.
Wow.
So let me just say this. My 22-year-old daughter went to Lakeland Village. She was there for 1 week and was bullied and threatened and pulled down by her backpack by girls because she was Black. And they called her the N-word. And the school sheriff told me, I cannot protect your daughter in this environment. I can't do nothing for her because they learned this racism at home. And I said, you the police. You mean to tell me you can't protect my daughter from the daily racial attacks that she's experiencing? She said, I can't do nothing for her. I walked straight into the office and I said, disenroll my daughter. She will not be coming back. And I homeschooled her from then until she was in 10th grade.
They can't do nothing because they breaking bread together.
How this is illegal. When the kids are getting called the N-word, that's hate crime.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Let us walk into y'all don't want to get me started.
I already know where you going with this.
I
already know we can steal another race like that. It'd be tore up.
Okay.
I mean, so one or two of us to walk into an all-white establishment and start calling people names, we'd be under all kind of Patriot Act.
Somebody got to go.
Arrested.
Oh yeah. Fast. Very.
Let's fast forward. Let's fast forward today.
Okay.
Right.
Okay. So the same students who was experienced last year at King High School this year they're running, and the kid tells them, hey, Rosa Parks didn't sit down for you. She sat down for people in the past. You need to get behind me. Another kid said, yeah, this is my bus. You run behind me.
Right.
So this is what kids are saying today. You having kids that's writing the N-word on dugouts.
Mm-hmm.
For racial slurs that kids have to deal with every day.
Right.
But the district says, oh, there's nothing we could do. RUSD was up on their resolution because they sent out an investigator, and the investigator said, no, we didn't have any findings, but the Office of Civil Rights said, no, there is findings here. So again, how are you going to have the school district do an investigation from their own hired subcontractor who's going to write a report that's not favorable for them? It just don't make sense.
It don't make sense. It still makes sense.
Yeah.
Jerry, you had touched on something earlier that I was going to ask you about again. You were talking about the Black teachers and how they get overwhelmed because it seems like they end up with all the kids with discipline problems. What do the Black teachers do about that? Is there anything they could say, or do they have to deal with it? Or even if they see something that they don't like, can they just go out and say what's wrong? What are the problems they run into?
No, because the problems they run into is now they get blackballed, get labeled as a problem. So now the district will start disciplining them to get rid of them because they're not a team player. They're not willing to take or let their community suffer at the hands of the district. So what happens is, as soon as you raise up, hey, there's discrimination, there's racism. Now, oh, you're that guy. You're not a team player, Jerry. And now the word is, we got to get Jerry out of here. So now you start having parents that, again, it could be anything could come up with a kid. Now they start writing you up and they start building a file to get rid of you because they want someone who's not going to change their system.
Right.
They want someone who's just going to go along to get along.
You know what, Jerry? I was told that there was, and this ain't coming from the NAACP education chairwoman. Okay, so this is coming from me, Christina Laster, and not associated with the organization. Okay.
Okay, we hear you. We hear you, Christina.
I done already been in too many articles and got phone calls. So this is what I want to say. What I do want to say is that I was told that in Riverside County, and I'm sure if it's happening in the Riverside, it's happening in other areas, there is actually a list that they have a link to that districts look at, kind of like a be on the lookout for parents and employees.
Okay.
Well, you know something?
Okay.
And it's like, if you're that parent, like me, I ain't gonna get no transfers.
They're gonna so they basically blacklist certain people because of past actions. Like I was saying, when I was a kid, I did notice that the more like my parents would try to have my behalf when it came to being a teacher being in the wrong. I got suspended for picking a leaf off a tree.
What?
True story. Defacing school property. Defacing.
Still there? I'm gonna go back. You want me to?
I don't remember. His name was Mr. Trujillo at McKinley Elementary School. One time I got in trouble at recess, and they used to have boxes, little yellow boxes on the playground. I had to stand in the box for 2 straight weeks, and it was like May going into June. It was hot, and so all recess.
Where was you at?
I was in California, Southern California. Okay. Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. And Johnny, I was real athletic, and so I just like to, and they were using it. It would end up getting used against me. But the more my parents fought, the harder they would make it. Yeah. What advice would you guys give for a parent going through that? Because that has to be frustrating.
Well, first thing would be is that you have to, like Chris said, team up with someone.
Yeah, you got to.
Organization, other parents. And with that, you have to go to board meetings.
Yeah.
Because once you go to board meetings and start expressing your experiences and consistently do it and quote the ed code and how they're out of line, with that, now they're going to do things. But I see parents, go into office and go off.
Yeah,
all the administrative staff say, okay, we know they'll come back when something else happened, but they're not consistent.
And they'll laugh.
And they're going to laugh.
Okay. So, and be consistent. You need to be consistent.
Yeah, that's it got to the point for me when now lately, I used to always, I still do go to the school, but I always go up to the school, always involved doing things. But once I start seeing a lot of things and I start calling them out and ed codes, it used to be, hey, Johnny, how you doing? Da, 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 come in, whoop. Now when I walk into the office, it's like, hey, is everything okay? I'm like, no.
But here's the thing. They'll fix the problem for you, but what about the other kids?
Right.
That's what I think about too. Because like you said, a lot of parents will go in there and they'll talk about what they don't like, or they'll tell me what I don't like. And the first thing I say is, well, did you write a letter? Did you email somebody? Or did you do this? Or maybe we should do this. Or, give them avenues and ways to be impactful. And I was looking at some of the things, like you said, the books. I just want to show one of them. The special this is a special education book right here. The rights and responsibilities. This is the one that you got. One of the books that you guys were talking about. It has all the ed codes in here. You can look it up. and do things like that. And the thing is, the school district, like that, going back to that LCAP funding, they are supposed to have these type of resources for you. So if they don't, put it in writing, tell them you want it, and request it. And like I said, they are a public entity, so they have to adhere to us.
Okay, and my recommendation is that anytime that you have a state taxpayer funded public entity, they have rules and regulations, and you go to board meetings and they're not doing things, and like I said, check the board notes. That's going to be important. Take it to the county level if the district ain't doing it. Then I recommend you taking it to the California Department of Education. Okay.
And something else is to look at.
That compliance complaint to the Department of Education.
Okay.
And if you can't get through the CDE, because CDE has a uniform complaint process through equity uniform complaint process too. So the district has their uniform complaint process, but so does California Department of Education. They all have different departments. They have it for special education. They have it for USDA. Say, for instance, you know something's going on with the milk program and you see rotten milk, like I was talking about one school I visited.
Rotten milk?
Anyway, you can always either contact California Department of Education, because they're the ones ultimately that can violate them and yank funding. Also, you can talk to OCR, Office of Civil Rights. You can fill that form out online. You don't have to be the parent to fill out an Office of Civil Rights form. You can fill that out on behalf of someone else. Okay.
Really?
Yeah. You don't have to be, you can put on, it says you have the right to do that, that Office of Civil Rights. Here's something that a lot of people don't know. The Department of Health Services has an Office of Civil Rights. Okay. So not just the U.S. Department of Education, but DHSS has an Office of Civil Rights too. So I would do both of them. But here's the thing. If you fill out a uniform complaint with the district, you cannot simultaneously fill out an Office of Civil Rights complaint, because the Office of Civil Rights will wait until the uniform complaint with the school district is done. What you can do simultaneously is fill out a uniform complaint with the district and with the California Department of Education. But you can't do Office of Civil Rights and the UCP, okay? So I advise parents to do everything that they can. But if you find that your child is emotionally vanquished, uneducated, why keep them in there? That's a bad experiment. Take them out of there. Put them somewhere else.
Take them out.
Many other places. Okay. And you know, I say this as a parent union president of the Inland Empire, not that I learned my lesson. Okay, so after that Wall Street Journal interview came out, I learned. I'm speaking from this platform as parent union president. I say, hey, you know what? See what the local programs that are available for your student and how that can help better, you know, your whatever structure your family is, whether it's a hybrid system, whether it's the charter school, whatever homeschool. See what that is. Don't just listen to what people are saying. You find out for yourself. I have never had any issues getting the programs that I need. It was with Springs. There's a lot out there. Don't keep your child in a bad environment while you fight. You could let them live to fight another day.
Look, Christina,
because that's access and opportunity that they live in, that they losing out on.
Here, let me show you guys something real quick, and it kind of goes to what you guys what you're talking about. Let me see. You guys can see it.
Yeah, that's South Orange County.
So you guys see that?
That's South Orange County.
Now, was she just so fed up to where she went and she cursed the students out? And so what would you guys say to her? The good method of operation would be maybe just take your kid out.
Understand.
Definitely don't do that.
Understand. I don't agree with her method, but because of the work I do, I can see her frustration.
You understand
it. Because she was seeing her child being bullied, and many times in the experiences of what we dealt with, and we consulted, had done over 800 consultants now, consultations, excuse me. And a parent just get fed up when your baby come home crying, being bullied, and you go to the school, you talk to the site administrator, and they blowing smoke up your skirt. Not doing anything. But you see the effect that's happened on your baby, then she just took matters into her own hands. So I can see her frustration being a Monday morning quarterback. You know, I could say you could do it different. That's her baby, and that's where she had got to, where she had to do something for her baby to go back to the point to let her baby know, I got you. And I'm not going to let these kids continue to punish you with this mental anguish, bullying, and everything else that she was going through.
Yeah, how people gonna be mad at her when they got a group of fourth grade first-grade teachers in Palmdale hold up nooses?
Right.
I mean, come on, these are first-grade teachers.
And I think it was, wasn't it one of them, the principal in Palmdale that was holding up the news?
The principal is the one that sent out the emails of the picture.
Right.
Where they at?
So this is the leadership you're dealing with.
And they teaching our kids.
Okay, so but let me give you some back. So hang on though. So I lived in Orange County my first 10 years in California. And then it was like 1.25% Black population. So that kid and that child, many times we put our kids in situations to say, hey, we want a better way for our child. And you say, I want to go to the best school system. But every day that little baby is up against hell. Like Chris was talking about, you're the only one. Oh, you're the only one. Every day you're in class and you're dealing with stuff and you're taking this 6 or 7 hours a day.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Go ahead. I just like to show people what we're talking about when we're saying it. I was just showing a picture of the principal with the news. But go ahead. And so what are remedies for things like this when it happens? A teacher taking a picture with the news. So get a group together.
Well, the thing is now see already. So it's several things you got to look at.
That same principal is up to be the superintendent of school.
Right. That's
how she get that far.
But understand. So this. But see, these are some things now you got to look at and say, okay, you got these 3 teachers who think this is funny. Now, if you think this is funny, how many times in a classroom did you not give your all to that Black student?
Exactly.
How many times in a classroom did you punish or over punish that Black student? How many times in a classroom did you do something, some kind of action that was subconscious that might pop up in that baby's mind and 8 to 10 years later?
Right.
These are the things that come up. And now you got to ask, okay, now how long have these teachers been around? If they've been around 10, 12 years, the kids who had her class, what was the grades and what kind of behavior did they have coming out, and look back at their cube folder and see what kind of write-ups they had versus other kids, Hispanic or white kids, because that's what happens when they're now so overtly to come out like that. Now you got to look at how long they've been in the system and how long they could have been a bad apple.
Right.
And you think they're going to do that, Jerry? You think that they're really going to?
No, what I'm saying is that's the investigation
that needs to be done.
That needs to be happen from some parents who now going to file a lawsuit.
And we need to have 40 acres in the mule too, but I don't see nothing. Okay.
Yeah. And go ahead, Christina. I'm sorry.
I want to know how long. This is the real question. How long are our kids going to sit in bad cultures and climate to receive an education? Because really what it goes to is the culture and the climate of they're not really welcome right there. So, that is a war zone, literally. for our children to enter into at a very young age every day. And by the time they get to high school, they feel so subordinate and so wore out that it's like literally weighing heavy on them, and it gives them the attitude that they don't count, they don't matter. Like Johnny said, they talking about his daughter hair from a young age.
Yes.
So now she's gonna be thinking that she has to have a perm or something different to be beautiful. And by the time she even becomes into adulthood, because what we don't understand is that our children are being attacked in their social, emotional, developmental stages of their life.
Correct.
On this end of it, and it's purposely so. You can't tell me it's coincidental or no, it's purposely.
Yeah.
And so,
and when I think about it, like you said, it's continual. We got these kids in high school getting called cotton picking and going through everything else. And then I know Jerry has a 6-year-old, and then my daughter, she's 5. And it's like, I feel like it's the norm going all the way throughout, all the way from kinder to 12. Like and that's what expected. It's accepted. You know?
I have a question for you guys, and it's kind of like a side question, but it does have something to do with this topic. I'm just putting it together in my head. It just came to me from what you guys are saying. Do you guys think it's possible that a child could go through something traumatic with a teacher when they're young, and then that causes them resentment toward teachers as they get older, and then the misbehavior is coming from the mistreatment that they got from a teacher when they were younger? Is this something that carries on?
But see, there are studies out that show that when Black boys have been treated bad and been attacked, how they hold in that anger, and then it's just a time bomb. To one day they're going to explode, and then when they explode, they're not going to unpack what happened to little Jerry in 6th grade, first grade, and second grade. They just going to say that little Jerry blew up.
They're not going to look at the existential factors. They're just going to look at the right here and now.
Correct.
But I guarantee you that if that damaged, little 6-year-old turns out to be a criminal, at 20-year-old, they're going to look at that behavior report to give them some extra time. Like, oh, that person been acting up since they was in elementary school. Look at this.
And then, but see, the thing is, it could be as simple as, like you said, taking off a leave, and that's why we need to know what are the suspensions for, how are they getting suspended. It's called willful defiance, so it could be as simple as a teacher coming in there and saying, hey, take out your books and do your work. And one of the kids like, I don't feel like doing my work. What am I doing? I don't want to do no work. And then, go to the office, you're suspended. Instead of talking to them like, pull out your work, do your work.
Some parents don't know their kids have a behavior report. I found out that the schools, because of the funding, remember I told you they got to be so anyway, and because of whatever other reasons, there were parents recently that told me they didn't even know their kids were on in-school suspension.
Wow. Yeah, I remember in-school suspension, and no, my parents didn't know about all the in-school suspension. What they call it, OTS, OCT, or something like that.
Counts as a suspension.
Wow.
And
let me give you something else. So just when we talk about discipline reports and everything, so now I got a call now about a week ago from a parent in Arizona, 6th grade child, 12-year-old student, and first-year teacher, and the teacher went and tried to grab the girl's marker or whatever out of her hand. The girl moved, bumped the teacher. They charged the child with assault, felony assault.
Get out of here, man!
Wow.
So what's happening is they're criminalizing the school system.
Wow.
And again, understand, but the baby, she was not standing up. She was at her desk. So it wasn't an aggressive manner or move for her to, like, she stood up like she's going to assault the teacher. So they got the little girl now had to talk to a probation officer and everything.
Okay, so where is she going to school now?
Well, I'm still waiting for the parents to call me back now.
Okay, so when they call you back, tell them that the parent union president all the way over here in California told said that in Arizona they have what is called a student spending account. Okay, you have to apply for it as a student. I believe it's a student scholarship. So the parent gets a debit card and they can talk around for education. They put 90% of the students' funding on that card.
All right. I have a question for you guys. I have somebody actually with a question, and it's a teacher. And she says, I'm an African-American teacher in Southern California. I don't want to say my name. She says, but what they're saying true about being marginalized if you speak up is true. And
I experienced it.
And she says, but as a teacher, let me ask you guys this. What advice would you give me as an approach to disciplining children?
And so when she said, what does she mean disciplining children? That's the question. But how I can help her, issues that she needs to get addressed in the board or through her district, she can call me. And because I'm independent, then I could come from an outside source and put weight on the district to help her reach some objectives she's trying to reach. And my phone number is 833-925-1957. That's 833-925-1957. And the reason I came up with that number is September 25th, 1957 was the integration of the school system by the Little Rock Nine. And so my service mark is because the Black community has always needed an advocate to get an education.
Yeah, okay. You should call really Jerry. He's nicer than me. I agree. Call Jerry. He's nicer than me. And he'll probably get a meeting quicker than I will.
Right. I have another message from another teacher saying what they're saying is absolutely true. We can't say anything. Wow.
Usually what I do is when teachers like that contact me, I right away start hosting events at those schools, like the Black Student Union forums that you guys see me doing, the change forums, and giving out awards to the teachers and certain students that have been marginalized, just to raise a level of awareness that we got to be unrelenting and consistent in what we do. So,
yes.
You know, the thing about it is you can't start, everybody could be a good starter, but there's not a lot of people that's going to finish well. So when I set up the change forums, and it depends on what level of education they're at, because most of it happens at the high schools, but I'm not saying it can't happen at the middle schools to have Black student unions form. Mm-hmm. And then have what is called the change forum for change. We do it 3 times a year, and it's a collaboration with the Black Student Union and all the other organizations on campus and the NAACP. And we have created these forums to stand up against discrimination. And I find that having them has been very effective in bringing the teachers to the forefront as being appreciated, because of course the Black teachers are there supporting the Black student unions and just part of the change, very essential to the change, and it just raises a level of awareness and relevance that's totally different and that a lot of people just didn't even understand. And you know, I bring in, you know, like the county supervisor's office, just big community leaders so that they also are engaged and involved, and they have been very effective. I'll tell you that. I've gotten a lot of positive feedback by going back and visiting the staff and the students, and they said, you know, it really has started to shift the paradigm and the culture and climate at our school.
I think something else also that needs to be looked at is the 2 teachers who called in or gave questions, is to look at the student body. Mm-hmm. Okay. Because the thing is every district needs Black teachers, because Riverside has 42,000 students, have 4,000 employees, with substitutes and everything, have 5,000 employees.
Okay.
And they have 6% Black student population. So there's no way they're at 6% of teachers that are Black.
No, and on most school campuses, they have 2 to 3% African American students on the majority of the schools. I mean, outside of maybe Moreno Valley and like.
Just to touch on that right there, my daughter, she's her school, she goes to Mountain View. Last year they had 3% African American.
Yeah,
and we went on a field trip where we had she's in the DLI program, all the DLI kids. It was three or four classes. She was the only African American kid in the DLI class this year.
Wow. I have another question from you guys. Go ahead, Jerry.
The reason I said that, though, is because as these teachers see issues, we have to go in before they start bringing issues out and bring up the value of having that Black teacher there.
Exactly.
So to empower the teacher saying, okay, you know something? I can speak now because they need me in this school.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Leverage.
We have to position it and be proactive to help these teachers. And that's what we do. We, like I said, represent both teachers and Black students and saying, hey, you know something? We understand what happens in districts. And I'm not an educator by trade. I came into this from the Black Business Expo, and because I got so many calls, it just evolved. And my story is that when I was in kindergarten, I grew up with the high school in Michigan, they wanted to hold me back. And my mom said, no, push it to first grade and let's see what happens. So in first grade, they held me back. But the issue was I was too immature to sit out. So today's time, they probably will label me ADD or ADHD, but I just wasn't mature enough to sit out. So what happens is we hear about red shirt freshmen who go to college and who don't play their first year of sports, but we as a community push our kids to school so fast, and many times they're not mature enough to be in that environment, and we put them out there in a wolf's den.
That's very interesting concept right there, Jerry. That's something to think about. You said something important there, the maturity, because when you say it, there was times where I would, in early school days, but I don't think I was mature enough. Again, I stood in the box for 2 weeks. I'm still mad at that, and I'm 38. I'm mad. I'm upset. You know,
we did it to you when your brain was still developing and it messed up your trauma centers. You know, like that was traumatizing.
What else it did was, as the older I got, it gave me shorter patience with teachers because I already felt like you out for me because I already felt that at a young age. And so it changed my whole tolerance of things.
And honestly, they are. I mean, just like I was talking to Christina about, it's that unconscious biasness, man. It's that unconscious bias. So, you know, if you have a Oriental or Asian kid coming to class, like, oh, okay, I ain't got to worry about him. Everything's gonna be good. But if you got a Black kid coming to class, he got braids, got everything. He could be the kid in the world. But
that's the truth.
You already know.
And it lowers their expectations for our. You know, I mean, it's the truth.
I mean, the other thing is you got to look at, you got white folks teaching unconscious bias. You haven't went through the
right. Now, listen, there's some well-meaning and caring and compassionate white people that do actually want to see some change because
but they haven't walked in my shoes.
They don't have the cultural experience.
I gotta say this: the NAACP was formed in 1909 from Black and white people, such as I done said it. There it is. Okay.
All right. I have another question, you guys. Salik says, what will be the plan for the future of our children educationally? Will we continue this way or build our own? Panel question.
Our own. Now that's what I'm talking about right there. Now, and see, if we have our own schools, then it would be called segregation. Okay. Oh, but
they segregate at school anyway. But the kids self-segregate.
They're already excluded anyway. So why is it that and I'm just gonna put it like this because we're gonna put it like this. I can't, I gotta be politically correct in an unapologetic way.
Okay.
So when after the Civil War and we had the Reconstruction, we're still under Reconstruction. We've seen that as slaves became free and they started having their own communities and their own schools. There were certain populations of white people, such as the planters and things like that, didn't like the success rate that we were having, right? Because it went against the fact that we were supposed to be educated, that we were supposed to be savage, and we were actually showing more success and progress at rapid rates. Like, we came out of slavery, created our own communities, and it was okay because Black parents said, you know what? I don't trust my kids to go to their school anyway. As a matter of fact, that's how the HBCUs formed, Fisk being the first of them. So why is that considered segregation when if you're going to treat me a certain way, why do I trust my kid at the school with you?
Right. Right.
So is segregation for us to build up our own kids and build up our own? I don't think so. Let's talk about it in I'm a Christian, so let's talk about it in biblical terms. So it was segregation for the Israelites to build up their own nation and do what they had to do?
It was survival. I do a radio show here in Houston on Fridays with my mentor. He's an older gentleman. And he tells me, he said, I asked him, we had this conversation and I said, well, what did integration do? He said, well, the difference was before the teachers loved the students. You had teachers who knew, like Jerry was saying, they knew what you was coming from. They knew the problems or whatever you may have, but they understood us culturally, and the teachers actually loved the kids. And so now when they took it and they mixed it all up, they take the best of the Black teachers and they put them over there with the white kids. And then, the Black kids just got the teachers who were just teaching just to be teaching. And so that's what he told me about integration. He said that the love got taken away from the students.
I mean, so also
forced integration. And then are they coming to the school because they want to? Or this is the question, and I'm going to have to hit it like this. Or are they getting a discount on their loan?
Right. Well, the teacher, talking about the Teach America programs. But also you got to look at is that 25, 40, 50 years ago, teachers taught in communities where kids grew up. So they knew their students and they knew the parents. Now you have everybody commuting in because they're moving around for the highest job. It's not for the student. It's to play this game. And what I call it is race to six, because you want to get to six figures at a district office. And at that point, you forget why you got into teaching, because you got in for the passion. But now you have the lifestyle in which you have to keep your mouth shut. So you can't buck the system.
You can't buck the system. And that sounds like a big problem that we're having even from the start of the discussion. We were talking about what people were doing is the politics and them not being able to buck the system. A little more about charter schools, you guys. I had somebody just send a question saying, can they talk a little more about charter schools and how do they focus on my kid who is a Black male more than a public school would?
And well, let me ask this. Where's that student at? What city is that student in?
Okay, I gotta wait to see if when they
so what happens is many times charter schools are started from people who have the passion.
Exactly.
They're started from people who see issues and they say, you know something, I want to do something different.
Yeah.
Well, I've been on the advisory board for Rising Star Business Academy for about 5 years. Okay. And we get kids from Reno Valley, several other districts, but kids come in with real world challenges. And these kids are making exceptional.
Yes.
Graduating. The program is ran by Alicia and Lincoln Beveridge, by Big Will. So people who are really vested in the community and who cares about what's happening with these students. Because these students come in, like I said, with challenges. now have been kicked out or go ahead, what you say?
There's actually about to be a charter school opening up in Moreno Valley in the fall.
Correct. And that's going to be, that right there is Tiffany School, which is Garvey Allen. So
Garvey Allen School.
I spoke on behalf of Tiffany at Riverside County Office of Education on November 7th and supported her school. Like I said, I've been in the community a long time, and I see what's going on, but these are people, and she used to be assistant principal in Moreno Valley USD. So she just wanted something different, so she started off and got with an organization to help her with the infrastructure so she can set up her charter school, which are accepting students now. So they often,
let me say particularly to what the question was, and I don't know where this parent is.
She's in San Bernardino.
Okay, tell
California.
that parent to look up in San Bernardino the Hardy Brown College Prep.
Correct.
Okay, that has 90% African American students, and look at their test scores. Those kids are exceeding mastery. Mastery, while our kids are below standard in district-run schools.
And that's part of the Fortune schools.
Right.
Sacramento.
And then there's another school called Savant Preparatory Academy School of Business. Those I personally have visited these schools, and I came back like with a bittersweet feeling, almost crying, walking away from those schools. Sweet, because guess what? Those kids are getting a quality public education, because let's not forget, charter schools are public schools too. Okay. It's not like these aren't private, but they were getting a great education, and then I felt bitter because of all of our kids that were not. And so San Bernardino, they're open to visits. She can go visit the Hardy Brown College Prep or the Savant. It depends on the grade level. And trust me, she would not ask that question again about what they could do for her students.
Okay. I got another question. It says, what do you guys think about the spring charter school in Riverside County?
I personally use Springs. I've used their homeschool programs, and I met with the ES once a week. I've used their Keys Independent Studies program, and I had no complaints about that. As a matter of fact, my kids were above grade level going through Springs. I've also used a virtual academy platform, which my oldest daughter graduated from, and I had no problems. I actually am very familiar with the Springs program because a lot of people are on the waiting list for the Santa Rosa program. That's how popular that school is. And so I have told them, as the parent union president in the to check out Springs. There's Excelsior in Corona. There's Sycamore Academy, and that has a few places. There's Innovative. There's a lot. There's the Julia Lee Performing Arts Academy. There's a lot of different things out there and it's smaller environment too. Smaller environment.
Okay. Less kids in the class. Okay. All right. He says, I like them too. Thank you, sis.
and I can't speak to that. My daughter's 30, so I don't have any kids in the school. So,
Jerry, what kind of issues do you get? Do they give you issues when you go to advocate for kids? What is something that you see as an independent advocacy group? Because they can't just jerk you around. So what do they do?
No, many times when I go to a district, as soon as I go in, I want to see the site administrator being the principal. So with that right there, I'll say, you probably want to call your district and get a district representative down here. That, or I'm going straight to the district.
Okay.
That's what I need to deal with is the head supervisor, because of many times the principal are scared to speak. They know I'm going to hold them accountable. So I to the director of student services, pupil services, the director of HR. So I'm going in, and many times I pop up or I call after I speak at a board meeting. So the next day when I called, they said, "Oh, hey, how you doing, Mr. Green?" Because they saw me speak.
Yeah.
See, that's the thing I understand is I want to do everything in the public.
Right.
I'm trying to have backdoor meetings because then they try to cut deals. I'm not trying to cut deals. I'm trying to get these students to get the best education they can.
Okay. And so, and I know they don't like seeing you covered because you
No.
don't have no type of political ties, or you don't have a reason to just sit there and kind of twiddle your thumbs. Hey, what are the remedies to be able to change?
So let me say this right here.
Go ahead.
Let me say this right here also. So I've been in real estate over 20 years. I'm a licensed real estate broker.
Mm-hmm.
So with that, we don't charge the parent, and through the Black Student Advocate, we create other ways to make money. So I don't ever want it to be a money situation where you can't call us. Okay. So with that, now I go in and I have the same mentality as a fiduciary obligation to that parent.
Right.
That's why when a district called me and tried to hold a meeting, I said, hold up, let's do a three-way with the parent.
Right.
I'm not having conversations that I can't keep the parent abreast of, because I don't want districts to deal with that parent with the daddy syndrome. You know what the daddy syndrome is?
No, go ahead. What is it?
Always wait till your daddy get home.
Okay.
So I want to empower the parent.
Mm-hmm.
The parent can't push the envelope, then I'm coming in heavy-handed because I'm calling the superintendent or the deputy superintendent. I'm not playing with them because they're not playing with our babies. And I understand this is the law, that they have to do what they need to do to educate this student. So these parents, when they call me, I'll say, okay, when I say I got you. I'm not, again, I already know when they call me, basically if the school district's out of line, we have a lawsuit.
And you know what? And the thing about it is, like, it's better to do it. We have the most impact together. So there's times where I say, you know what, I'm out of town or whatever here. I think it's better for you to call Jerry because he's able to help you, and I think you need help right now. Or, you know, Jerry, hey, we all can help. And like he said, he's helping people and not charging them, and I'm willing to help as much as I can, and I'm not charging anybody, because we need to come together as a community, as a people, and to do more together. We can make an impact. I'm gonna tell parents, employees, whatever, don't go to no meeting by yourself.
Okay.
Call, I don't care, one of us. And even if it's on the phone, Jerry has been on the phone with me before, and I'm a civil rights activist, and they know it, and they still try to give me a hard time. You're going to show up at a meeting by yourself? No, don't do that. It's better to go with somebody, and they can't tell you that you can't have your advocate, even though they'll try.
So let me tell you what happened at Riverside at Gage. So this parent and this principal is going back and forth on a situation. So the parent called me and I said, okay. So I go in with the parent and the principal says, I want to go ahead and talk to the parent. I'll call you in a minute. I said, well, no, the parent asked me to come, and so I'm here. He says, well, no, I want to talk to the parent. I said, well, you can't stop the parent from having an advocate. Okay. And he said, well, I can refuse this meeting. I said, is that what you're doing?
Wow.
He said, yes. I said, no problem. So I stepped outside and I was already talking to his boss on other issues at the district. So I called and I say, this Jerry Green, Black Student Advocate, I need to talk to this person. They say, just a minute, Mr. Green. He get on the phone. I said, I'm over here at Gage, and this is a situation I'm having. Can you call this principal? He said, well, I'll be over there later. I said, no, can you call him right now? He said, tell him, call me. So I go back in the office within 5 minutes and says, hey, basically I say, Dr. McGuire wants you to call him. He was blown away that I was able to call the district, get through so fast to know who his boss was.
Because you're consistent and unrelenting, and so if there's any parents that want to have help with their options for education, because I know a lot of people feel stuck, they don't know where to go, they can contact me, the Inland Empire Parent Union president, Jerry, you know you laughing because you know why I keep saying that.
I get a hint why you keep. I think I know why you keep saying it too. Some things got to stay in certain places. I get.
I gotta keep certain jobs in certain places, but it's okay. Bro. And they can contact me, the Inland Empire Parent Union President, at 951-266-6911. Okay, so y'all get that last number, 6911. Okay, and I will help you navigate through your options. And also, just tell you how to use the ed code, just like Jerry. And you know what? If I ain't there, I'll refer you to Jerry.
And another thing is, it's just knowing. So last year, on 10 to 15 occasions, when a parent says, okay, I'm going to call my Black student advocate right away, we should go ahead and take care of this.
Right.
What happened? So let me tell you what happened at Hemet Unified last year.
Oh my God.
So a grandparent called me and says, Jerry, I'm trying to get my grandson registered. I said, okay. And I knew her. And I knew the grandson. I said, okay. Said they give him a hard time. I said, okay, let's do a three-way. So we do a three-way, and I could get director of student services on the phone. I said, hey, trying to get the student enrolled. The mom's there with him right now. And she says, okay, I'll call you back. So she called the school and everything. And 20 minutes, 30 minutes later, the grandmother called me back and said, Jerry, he's been enrolled. Thank you. I said, that's what we're supposed to do. We're supposed to support these families and help them get the results they want. I mean, I get calls and I'll be like, no, we got to go today, because I know the seriousness of how they try to stack charges and do different things to these kids when things come up. Because understand, we have to play chess and not checkers. And it's just that simple. Okay. Because when your kid gets charged or an issue happened, then they already know the steps that needs to take place. And I say, they're a big cruise liner, I'm a little speedboat. So I have to get out in front of them, and I can't get caught in their wake, in their wave, then we're done. So I just tell parents, when I tell you to do these things, you have to do it, because if not, once they get out in front of us, we have a problem.
And I'm gonna go ahead and sign off, because I gotta be at lobby day in the morning with my my youth council over here in Sacramento. So I'm gonna show y'all this business card, and listen, when you call me or if you email me, I don't want to hear no venting unless you're ready to do something.
Ready to handle some business. Ready to handle some business.
We can talk for 5 minutes if you want to complain, but I want you to be ready to move into action. Yeah. And this is it right here. Can you guys see it?
Yeah, we can see it. And
back it up just a little bit.
Okay. No, I'm playing with you guys. You guys can call me and vent once, and then that's
and I'll take the information from that, and I'll pin it in the comments too. And before you go, Christina, I just want to tell you thank you. I thank you for what you're doing and the passion that you have for the kids and the youth. And because there's a lot of people who don't do this, and there's a lot of people who talk about it, but they're not really about it. And so I do want to thank you. And look. And I got another message. Somebody said to tell you thank you. She says because she said that she didn't know about behavior files, and so I think that's something that she's going to look into. So she wants to say thank you.
If they in Southwest Rivers, I'm not going to show my NAACP card. I got to file this high, and Southwest Riverside Branch 1034. That's me, the education chairwoman. And the thing about it is, seriously, no, I'm here for you guys to serve these students. Okay, so everybody that know me and know I like to crack a lot of jokes, but at the end of the day, I'm here for the kids, and I'm serious about what I do. So what I will say is, I'm not about to strike no rocks, but I'm about to say, let my people go. And I don't care how many Greetings, young minds. Let my people go. I'm out, y'all. I'll see y'all.
All right, bye. Thank you, Christina.
We'll talk, Chris.
Okay, bye. Thank you.
Bye. Thank you. All right, guys. Why don't we do this? Why don't we go with Jerry and Johnny, and you guys give me you guys' last thoughts on things that you guys think that people need to hear, advice or just anything that you want to advocate towards. And let's make sure to give out all the information. I mean, your contact information so people could get in contact with you. Go ahead, Johnny.
Okay. Yeah, basically like they were saying, get involved and get informed. Talk to your kids, find out what's going on at school. Don't just say, how was school? Good. Okay, it's over. No, what did you learn? What happened? Why? You got to talk to them because a lot of things are going on that you don't know that's going to affect the kids indirectly in the long term. And be persistent, consistent, follow up. If you have an issue, what they say, cooler heads usually prevail. Put it in writing. That's what I say.
Put it in writing.
I had some reports from my daughter from things that were said, or I can't get because it was an incident report she had, and it was written up wrong. They said she was running around or something. She hit a stationary because she hit something and she fell. But it was a rolling cart, and he put it right outside of the restroom. So I went in there and I called the incident. At first, they told me they couldn't do an incident report because it wasn't her head. And you know what I said? Show me that in writing. I said, show me that in writing. And then they do an incident report. And then I said, I want to see the incident report because I want to make sure it's accurate. And then I had to use the same thing again. Once you tell them that and you hit out the ed codes and you get somewhat educated on what you're talking about and what's going on, you'll see results. And they don't like that. And once again, you can contact me at 951-907-0370. I can help you out with any resources or direction you to the right place, or even showing up for you, helping out in any way possible. Email is Corina, CORINA MACINC @gmail.com. And be involved and educated because it's important. It's important.
It's important.
That they get what they need, and they're not unempowered. They need to be empowered. They know where they come from, and they don't need to be talked about bad. And another thing I wanted to go back to was the segregation thing. When we were talking about that, I was talking to my when we were talking about, I didn't get a chance to go in there when we were talking about how we could better teach each other or do everything like that. She graduated in 48 in Oklahoma, and so she was part of that segregation. Okay. She told me there was only 2 schools out there, and there was one university that all of the Black professors, educators, the students went to, and there was only a few places they can get jobs. So in turn, they got a higher level of learning. So that's just to say that there's always going to be barriers. There's always going to be ways that they don't want you to get what you deserve, but you have to persevere and fight through that. So.
Okay, and thanks, Johnny. And I got one more. It's actually a comment, and this is what I'll do. I'll read the comment. I'll give my last little spiel, and then Jerry, can you just give us your final opinion, final thought, and information, and you'll say the last word. I won't say nothing else. Here, let me do this. Guy Harrell says, inequality in education goes across the board. No equality for students, minorities at any level, parents and minority teachers either. And he say thumbs down. He's saying there's no equality for the parents, the teachers, nor the students when it comes to minorities. You guys, this is Soapbox Heroes. If you can, hit the subscribe button, hit the like button. Go ahead, Jerry.
Again, my name is Jerry O'Green, Black Student Advocate, and our phone number is 833-925-1957. We are a media company that advocate for Black employees and Black families with children in school while solving 4 of the 8 California Department of Education priorities to include increasing student achievement, lowering chronic absenteeism of Black students, increasing student engagement, lowering discipline rates of Black students, improving school climate, and increasing parent involvement. So what we do, whatever call we get, again, right now, about a third of our calls are for bullying from staff. At the staff are actually bullying our students. We go in and we ask for the parent to give us all the information they have, and we request records from the school. So we want to get the full picture of the student. Also, what we do is we do case management. So once we get the cube and all the files, now every 2 weeks, the district has the parent signed off, and the district have to send us anything that goes in that kid's file. So now we're case management because there are stories and things that happen to kids when it's time to go to college. They got to get character reference letters because things that was put in their file when they were in elementary school. We see it, we're stopping the preschool to prison pipeline by putting the pin in the situations where parents don't know their baby is being abused. Mm-hmm. We just tell parents, go to a meeting or with someone else. So each one take one. When you go, bring someone in. Mm-hmm. If you've been to an IEP meeting or a 504, what the district is going to do is they're going to posture. When you go in a room, it's going to be 5 to 7 of them and just you.
Somewhat
so what happens is it's an intimidation model in which they try to bring. Okay, and that's not a parent is like, oh my God. Yeah. So parent is in there, they go into the IEP and something else. If the meeting is going over, and then they'll do a movement like this to say, Johnny, don't you have a 10-15 meeting? And they'll say, yes, I do. And when they do that, I'll say, we're going to table this meeting to a better time. Because now they try to put their parent up on the press to sign that document. No, and the parent has 10 days by law to sign the document. But what happens is I tell the parent, take a couple of days off. We talked about a lot. Then let's review the document to make sure we get in all the needs of your student met. So the game that the district plays, and the district and most districts have a bullying policy, but districts are the biggest bully in town.
And let me touch on that real quick.
They bully the students. Go ahead, Johnny.
The IEP that you were talking about, they have 10 days. My daughter, like I said, I'm in a due process, and you have as long as till you feel it's right. Because we had ours in October and they still ain't got it right. And we go into court and they're still just continuing off the last one. So if you don't feel comfortable, if you don't like it, don't sign it at all, period.
Well, let me tell you why I say the 10 days. Because we're going to put in there what we think needs to happen also when we send it back.
Put your request in. Yeah,
we don't like when we went through the meeting, then we're going to address it there and put it in writing. Because documentation means it happened. And that's the whole name of the game. And also what I do when I go in meetings, I have my own agenda.
Oh yeah, me too. That's the agenda. I'm all on them. Every time I go, documented dates, everything. So when
and this is a parent, you guys.
But what happens is I document everybody who's in a meeting. So when you don't do what you're supposed to do, now I'm going to a school board meeting, you're going to mention all your employees that was in this meeting and you haven't moved forward on this objective. And that's the name of the game for me is to expose these districts. Something else, because of the work we do, you're not alone with the issues you're dealing with, parent. But what happens is you go in at 8 o'clock, Johnny goes in at 9 o'clock, someone goes in at 10:15, someone else goes in at 1, and you thinking that you're alone. But because the calls I get, I'm putting it all together and saying this is a systemic issue. And that's another problem they have, because I'm getting calls and saying it's not just happening at King, it's happening at North, okay, it's happening at Ramona. So now you got a big problem within your house. How 3 other 5-year high schools are USD? How many you might have? So that's the whole issue they have, because I'm putting it all together and I'm bringing it to them, and now they're like, oh, we got a problem. We have to deal with this guy. So my phone number again is 833-925-1957. Again, that number came about because of September 25th, 1957. That's when the Little Rock 9 integrated the school system. And we used the service mark because the Black community has always been an advocate. Tyrone, did you get another question?
No, we got a couple more comments. Okay. Let's see. Oh no. He said he just said no. Maybe I'm back on a live feed. Guy had left the feed and came back.
Okay.
But no, that was it. And like I said, I just wanted to thank you guys for coming on. Oh, hey, I did get another question. Look, and it's weird because the questions I'm getting from the educators, they're sending them to like my private email. They are not putting these questions. They are not putting these questions in the live feed. This is like they want to know, but they don't want everybody to know that they want to know. So I'm not going to say y'all name. I understand the anonymity that you are requesting. But somebody told me to ask, do you help teachers outside of California? Because she says she's having a real problem.
Tell her, give me a call. Again, 833-925-1957. Again, we'll do the best we can. We'll look at outside networks and look at other agencies that's in her area. But I get calls from all over the country right now. So I have family that's the educators back in Michigan, you know, and something else. As we deal with these cases we have, my attorney is a 20-year retired LAPD. He's also a 5-year California state prosecutor. My report writer or subject matter expert to gather chronological, put everything in chronological order is my brother, who's 15-year LAPD. Okay. So we know our reports and our stuff are going to be tight once we have our people doing the investigation, because once we put it together, then we know that we have something solid. You know, so again, give us a call. We'll help the best we can. Again, it's a problem, and we need to give our teachers who are on the front line and administrators on the front line the support they need, and also to protect our babies. Because again, we understand the fight and what's going on with them every day.
All right, I want to thank you guys for coming on. This has been Soapbox Heroes. Go ahead, John.
Hey, we appreciate you, man, for real.
Thank you, man, for being a great host, man. I really enjoyed it.
No, I was going to, when we got off, I was going to ask you guys if we could do this more, maybe do it more often. We could talk about different things, more solution-based things. We're getting questions. I'm sure we're going to get more questions. I'm going to run this back on Facebook and other social media platforms.
Let me speak to this too, real fast too. Is that as the Black student advocate, we're for any form of education, public school or charter school, home study, whatever, that's meet the child's need.
Okay.
There's not any one tool or one process going to serve all the kids' needs. Okay. I can say that because I have my own way of generating funds.
You can be honest.
You have a Black organization or any other organization who's ran off an old business model where you have to get donations, then your authenticity and your integrity could come into question because you could be going to the highest bidder.
You could be compromised. That money is compromising. And then they feel like they have to do stuff to further their agenda. And so, yes, they'll capitulate to things.
There you go.
All right, man. Hey, this was good. But I was going to ask you guys if we could come on and talk about it some more. Just keep stuff in the parents' ear.
I'm with it. Yes. Yes,
Johnny,
I'm with
maybe you need to start a parent advocacy show, Mr. Johnny, a parent advocacy show, and talk about it on a weekly. Because
that'll be nice. I know some other people doing some things, similar things who we should bring on here. Some educators, some people doing like mentoring and things like that who would like to come on. So yeah.
Look, the teacher, she said, Jerry, thanks for helping the teachers. Nobody think about us.
For real.
Because what happens is, so let me give you some backstory. The backstory is, so we have a principal right now who was the only Black administrator or principal in our USD, had accusations, was relieved of duty.
Yeah, at Lincoln.
And with another white administrator who had accusations prior to him and who was never relieved of duty. The findings, again, the report is still out. Findings, nothing from what we got has really been substantiated. Okay? But what's happening is you still try to make Black teachers, administrators suffer even when they're right.
Right.
That's ridiculous. But that's the privilege of white folks. That's the privilege of having a big system, because even when you're wrong, you have the power to be right because you're the one who controlled the pen.
Right. You got the machine behind you, and the Black teachers necessarily don't have the machine behind them. They have the machine against them, actually.
For real.
Many times Black teachers got into teaching because there is that teacher who done something and sparked that interest, and they want to do something the same thing for some kids, but then they realize once they get into this big machine, it's about the kids.
Yeah, and I know what you mean. And I'll be honest, I have an educator who's very, very close to me. I won't put her out there because I see all the other educators. I'm getting more messages from teachers that I didn't even know knew my email, right? People who are on the actual live feed. So I won't say her name, even though.
So are you getting more questions?
No, that's it with the questions. We haven't got no more questions. We have people watching, but when that happens, that means people are learning. And so they're just sometimes people do just intake what they hear. And but I want to say, and I want to tell her how much I appreciate her. And this is how I knew she loved kids. The question came up, if I won the lottery, and everybody said, I quit my job. She said, I wouldn't. And somebody said, why? She said, because I love my job. I love the kids. I love what I do.
That's what's up.
And so I think that's very important. And I would put her name out there, but I won't put your name out there.
Right. And that's even with what I do now. I've done the Black Business Expo. I've been the Black Business Directory and evolved to the Black Student Advocate. And I funded my own organization the last 2 years, self-funded. So with that, what I do, I have a passion for, I have a call for, and it is my purpose. So I don't consider it work.
Right.
I mean, it's, and again, I split time between Oklahoma City and California. So now what I'm doing now is just more Zoom calls and more conference calls so I can help more families versus going on site as much. Right. But I still will go to school board meetings and give it to them straight, no chaser. Because I enjoy that and see it in their face. I do.
Jerry, give it to you.
I saw some of his videos on YouTube. I said, wow, he is not playing. He's not playing at all. And he don't go in there. And I'm going to be honest, Jerry. Johnny, you sent me a few videos. I watched one video and you could tell like some people kind of kowtow around the subject. And first, I want to thank this person. Jerry get in there like, look, this is what we stand for, what we talking about, and this is what we need done. And I don't mean tomorrow, I mean right now. And
but that's it. I mean, because again, like we said before, we can wrap up. Whenever it comes time to dealing with Black issues, they always want us to wait.
Always.
And time out for that. And some phrases I don't use is I don't use minority, I don't use person of color, and I don't use diversity because that means forget about Black folks.
For everybody else except Black folks.
Yeah, and I come in and I'm saying I'm coming in for Black students and Black employees.
Yeah, when they say minority, that could be anybody. That could be.
So with that, I advocated for a Korean family, white family, Hispanic family. Whoever calls me, I'm going to advocate for it because right is right, wrong is wrong. But my target market is Black employees and Black students.
Right.
If else calls, I'm going to help. But that's who I'm going for.
Right.
So again, as the Black community rises, everyone else can rise too.
Right. And look, and that goes to what this last comment says. Guy Harrell says, I told you it's systematic. Nobody Black has anything but problems behind them. But Guy, until now you got Jerry. You do got somebody. And Guy is an advocate for teachers and stuff in the community. So we do have somebody besides Trouble. We got Jerry.
But also right there in Houston, you got Jerry Monroe.
Yeah. Yep, we got Jerry Monroe. We have a lot of resources in Houston. I do find some things it seems like regionally, it seems a little worse than others, but there are problems everywhere. And what I do notice a big difference is the inequalities in between the schools in the upper echelon neighborhoods and then in the ghetto, in the hood. And because out here in Houston, that's what they have. You'll have the hood, and then 1 mile over, you'll have nothing but, beautiful homes that surround all outside. And the impact of the school districts and the impact of the things going on in school is visible. You can see it. And so that is something that goes on a lot here too, but as it does everywhere.
Yeah.
And so I want to thank you guys again tremendously.
Thank you,
Johnny
sir.
as a parent, Jerry, Ben,
Appreciate
again,
you.
hey, no problem, man. I love doing this. This is something, we could do this every day. I don't want to wear y'all out. I feel like we could do it until we get thousands of parents that are on board and more intuitive in what's going on. Some things do just need to be talked about and distributed and pushed. And so everybody do their part. I'll make sure I do mine. And so again, you guys, Jerry, leave your phone number one more time.
Sure, 833-925-1957. 833-925-1957.
All right, Johnny, one more time with your email, with your information.
My phone number is 951-907-0370, and my email is corinamacinc@gmail.com. So,
All right, and one more thing, while Johnny is up on the screen, you got the biggest part of the screen, Johnny. Look, this is a black guy, a brother, and he is intuitive in what's going on in his child's education. He's at the school, he's at the board meetings, he'll show you papers. So don't think it can't be done. And so I just want to say, Johnny, you're a great example, man. I want to thank you. And look at him. He black. So don't think it can't be done. Don't think this does not happen. So that's all I want.
We need more coming out there. So I invite everybody to the thing. So just be a part of it. When they see your face, they have a different tune also.
Right. And I just want to say, hey, you're setting an example. I like the fact that we can have articulate brothers on here and Christina as well. And just show people this does happen,
It's reality.
It's
not just the article you read in states away. It's happening in your backyard.
Yeah, it's happening. And what is happening is we do have people that care. So this is Soapbox Heroes. We're going to get out of here. I want to thank you guys one more time. And you guys, if you get a chance, share this, hit subscribe. And I'm going to make sure I share it on other social media platforms as well. I'll see you guys later.
All right. Peace.
All right.